It's rolling.
Yep.
Hey y'all. So we're gonna try to keep this a little shorter this time because it will be easier to upload onto IGTV, Instagram. But we wanted to say hey, we're in Long Gulch right now, which is this really cool area of the Colorado Trail, along the Colorado Trail that is like this really long meadow. I was really excited to visit it after you told me about it
And
the last time you walked through here.
The Lost Creek Wilderness boundary is like, we're pretty much sitting on the Lost Creek Wilderness boundary.
Yeah, the CT, this part of the Colorado Trail sits like right on this edge of the Lost Creek Wilderness boundary. And if you didn't know, we are hiking the Colorado Trail, and we're also taking some side detours and doing a lot of like kind of observing and study and some wild tending as well. So we just wanted to reflect a little bit on this place and some things we were thinking about. So
yeah, we're here in this meadow in what I'm pretty positive, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, in what is Tabaguach, the Tabaguach Ute band. This was their traditional territory, and this sub-alpine meadow we're in here was one of their summer root digging places. Since we've been here, the abundance of biscuit roots and calicortus lilies has just been astounding and absolutely incredible. And there's the North Fork of Lost Creek right here has trout and beaver, and there's a lot of moose activity here.
And deer and maybe elk too.
Yeah, this is a really special place. The plant diversity is just amazing. And
yeah, we'll be reflecting more on the podcast, like extensively, like kind of what we've been thinking about and what we've like observed from the beginning of when we started until now, or until when we get to our first town resupply. But we just moved into the sub-alpine zone here, so we were like in the 7,000 to 8,000 feet.
We were going through
a lot before this, so
Ponderosa, Doug Fir Park, kind of montane foothill for a while.
And then this is definitely more sub-alpine. And something I've been thinking a lot about on this trail, we've had a lot of time to think. You know, that's part of the walk. Intention of the walk is to like be with yourself and your thoughts, you know, and observe and take in what's happening on the land. And for us, we're open books, you know. What are we gonna see? We want to like witness on foot like what's here and take it in. And so also my thoughts are much more complete and more connected than I feel like when I'm out in the world, when I'm being distracted by a million things. And something I've been reminded of a lot here is that ecology doesn't have straight lines and boxes that it fits neatly into, and that you can observe that by walking on the land. And when you see everything yourself, you can see that plants don't just stop and end, you know, montane to subalpine. Like there's plants that overlap both of those. And also we're observing plants that we've seen in other places that we've lived, you know, and when you lived in the Pacific Northwest and when I've lived in other parts of the country too, and just how cool like that is. And sometimes they take different forms in different places, and you can always find somebody familiar, you know, anywhere you go. And also being reminded that like a lot of the rootedness of our divisiveness in our world is based on this idea that we're told that things are like static and not fluid, you know. And I'm always reminding myself of that. Gabe's observing some birds right there in the trees. They're coming to visit us. Just that you know, everything is constantly in creation and destruction, like this movement of in and out of existence, you know, including us and the plants and the land and the ecologies and the changing river and the trees, everything. And so it's just like you really see that more when you're out here, you know. And it's a really beautiful thing. So
yeah, change is the only constant, and staticness doesn't really exist in the grand scheme of in by the laws of nature and ecology. There is no staticness, and we're seeing the consequences culturally and ecologically worldwide now of this imposition of staticness. You know, racial purity is a form of staticness, racism, you know, or, you know, environmental racism, you know, it's all a form of static, and we're starting to see the consequences of that, because a lot of us have known for a long time and are starting to wake up to the fact that there's something just not right about that, and that something really doesn't make sense about this.
And every evening we're journaling for a few hours, and we're making plant lists every day, and we're definitely like geeking on the scientific names and comment. You know, both of us have a certain set of knowledge, and so when we're walking on the trail, we're like, oh, it's this thing, and oh, it's like in this genus, but we're not sure which one it is. Oh, it looks like this. We have no idea what this is.
We've learned so much. I feel like we're going to school right now, and the land is teaching us, and we're teaching
each other too.
And we're teaching each other. We're carrying kind of like a bulky little plant book for the Rocky Mountains that's been very worth it. We were a little conflicted about it, but it's been like,
Gabe's like, I'm memorizing this book right now.
Yeah, you know,
it's like the only stimulus besides what we're seeing all day.
And our journaling and, you know, doing sit spot and just observing the land and making connections, you know, and it's like, this is the most valuable thing in my life, is this, you know, ecological understanding of place and ecology and ecological knowledge, and understanding the relationships that we're all a part of here. And then coming back to that, what Kelly said in the beginning, how there's no clear lines in ecology. Ironically, we're right on an arbitrary boundary right here.
Wilderness.
Right here is not wilderness, and on the other side of us is wilderness.
And how the government treats these places is...
Yeah.
It's like we're allowing... there's a whole conversation around that we'll talk about more on the podcast. But
later, because that'll make this video way too long if we talk about that.
But it's like really noticing the lines... when you walk through the land, these arbitrary lines we put on the land, and more
also,
on that.
And also how, just real quick, how those arbitrary lines actually have an effect on the ecology, you know, because they do. And
this other thing you brought up before we end the video is like, it was Sam Wells' podcast episode, most recent one, where he was talking about the young college kid that got murdered for like observing and documenting like the biodiversity of some areas in, I think it was in Oaxaca, and how I don't know if it was a mining company, it's all a suspect, but like he was killed because he was advocating and bringing awareness to what was actually there because he was recording it. And though we are like definitely recording the names that a lot of old white guys have put on some of these plants, it's just a tool, and you know, these names are like static things, but it's a tool to like observe the fluidity, right? It's a tool to like see what's here, and this valley is full of amazing plants and biscuit roots and food and like unique plants too.
Absolutely.
So we're just observing too in that way.
And because if one of the benefits of this, bringing awareness to and documentation of this, is that if it can be advocated for, and you know, thousands of people have walked the Colorado Trail, but I don't know how many of those people, if even any, have made the connection to the cultural significance of this place to the Utes, and like that, you know, part of this journey for me is like seeing the footprints left behind after colonization, extraction, mining, and logging of the traditional and cultural landscape that they tended for millennia. And that's part of this process right here, and I think it's so important. You know, it's not like it's not the wilderness that's important to me. It's this ecological footprint left behind by a middle way, which was humans being a part of ecology, humans being keystone ecological species. And that's what we're witnessing right here in this massive garden full of biscuit roots and Mariposa lilies. There's one right here, little biscuit root.
Little one right there. Well, we're gonna end this now because I'm not sure how long it is going for, but
we'll keep y'all posted though.
It's easier for me to post these when
and
they're
for you
shorter.
plant geeks, we'll have
Lists.
We'll have cool plant lists and fun stuff.